You're listening to the Full Court Press with your host, Drew Duncan. Don't you dare touch that dial. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. You guys are checking me out live from the K-Sun Studios out here in Wichita, Kansas. As always, you can be part of the program by tweeting me. That's at DrewDuncan83. Of course, the official fan page of Full Court Press is on Facebook, and if you love that Instagram, I am on there at DrewDuncan83 as well. We now turn to the late breaking news that came out later on this evening yesterday. Daniel Cormier has now been reinstated as a UFC light heavyweight champion. You know, Jon Jones, first of all, his career is basically done. I mean, right now he's looking at a 4-year suspension. After a 4-year layoff, who can really come back and be able to do anything? Now, obviously, it's not for certain yet. He's going to have a meeting with the California Commission and all that's going to have to happen. But unfortunately, I just don't think that Jon Jones is going to be able to make it back. He had 2 tests, right, that came out. He had Test A and Test B. Test A came out clean. Test B is allegedly coming out dirty. So we'll have to see what happens from there. Look, the very real reality of it is because he's a repeat offender, the UFC is not going to take it easy on him. It's a point-blank situation. They're just not. Daniel Cormier had probably the best quote of this whole situation out of everything that's been going on. Flat out, Daniel Cormier said he disqualified himself for taking a steroid before the fight. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to beat me. You have all the advantages, sir. You're 30 years old. You're 6'4". You have an 85-inch reach. I am 38 years old. I would love to take stuff so when I wake up in the morning, I don't walk sideways down the stairs. I'm telling you right now, that tells it everything that you need to know about the situation. And he's right. Look, we talked about this yesterday on the program, right? The USC Trojans, how they decided that their loss against Texas doesn't count since the NCAA decided that since they made infractions that their 2 championship wins don't count. So now they decided that their loss doesn't count. That's not the way this works. It's billed as a no contest. And since it doesn't count, Daniel Cormier is a champion. Look, whether you like it or not, that's the way that it is. Daniel Cormier is your UFC champion. Is he boring to watch? I think so. Is he a little out of shape? That's for every man for himself to decide. But at least you can say he's doing it the right way. Look, cheating, whether it's financially in college, whether it's PED use, steroids, there are banned substances, whatever it is, it goes on across the board. We're not just talking about MMA. We're talking about the NFL. Russ Welker and a bunch of other guys have been hit with it, right? Bill Romanowski, if I remember correctly, was hit with it. And those are big-name players, guys. It's not just strictly to the UFC. In college, you could talk about all the different kind of cheating that you want to. In college, it happens. All the infractions that happen with USC, North Carolina, and having all those alleged paper classes. OU back in the 90s got busted. It happens across the board. People are always trying to get that edge. Illegal recruiting in the Olympics. We've seen people use steroids to try and get an edge up. Was it Lance Armstrong? He got hit too, and he says that there's no way to win without doing it. And he says that what he did wasn't even wrong. He doesn't believe there was anything illegal about it. Look, at the end of the day, there's really not a lot that we can do to stop it. Do I think it's wrong to take these avenues? Of course I do. Look, I think steroids are dangerous. The UFC, MMA in general, as is, it's already a dangerous sport. Football is already a dangerous sport. We're talking about physically violent sports. And if somebody's out there using steroids and they go into roid rage and you never really know when that roid rage is going to happen, they can do permanent damage to people. It was Mark Hunt. It was about a year ago when he fought Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar tested positive for steroids. And he said, what am I going to tell my kids if I get hurt in that ring? That's what he was alluding to. That's exactly what he was alluding to. Is if Brock Lesnar, look at the size of Lesnar. Look how strong he is. Regardless of whether it's roids or not, look how strong he is. If he goes into a roid rage while he's in that octagon, he could end his life. It's already a possibility as it is. It's already a possibility as it is. So why would you, at any level, use steroids? And I get it. Whether you think you're inferior, a lot of guys try to make comebacks, like Jon Jones. He tried to make a comeback. He was already off of a year suspension as it was for a lot of other things that have been going on in his personal life. Whatever the case may be, whatever the situation is, whatever reason you can think of to justify it, believe me when I tell you that you can't. There's absolutely no way to justify doping. And it's really sad to me that we've put so much emphasis on winning that regardless of what stage you're cheating, regardless of how you're doing it, that's how we decide to do it. That's why a lot of people don't like the New England Patriots, right? Because of all the cheating, the alleged scandals, the Deflategate, the Spygate, the things that have happened over and over again, and they've happened during Super Bowl seasons. There's a reason why people don't like the Denver Broncos, because back in the late 90s, they gamed the system so that way they could wait till later to pay out all their athletes, all their players, keep guys like John Elway on their roster, keep Terrell Davis on their roster, do all these things that it looked like Elway was taking a pay cut, right? Wrong. And they suffered for it later. Think about it like this. Jon Bones Jones, if he hadn't have been using, allegedly I should say, using whatever substance it is they're saying that it was, just maybe he wouldn't have won that fight. But now, even more importantly, what does this do for the UFC? Ronda Rousey was your big name. She got beat 2 times in a row. People aren't very interested in her anymore. I mean, there's been rumors about her going to the WWE now. So there's a big money ticket that's out the door. Conor McGregor, he doesn't know what he wants to do next. He's talking about more boxing. He's talking about the possibility of returning back to the UFC. Yeah, Nate Diaz wants a third fight, but the word is he wants $20 million for a third fight. And he thinks that he's entitled to it. And then you got to think about the Amanda Nunes situation, right? Amanda Nunes, she was allegedly sick and had that nasal going on, and she had 15 pounds to drop on Wednesday, and Shevchenko looked like she was in perfect condition, and it looks like the Lioness did right, and she just bought herself a little bit more time to fight her, a little bit more time to prepare for her, and she was able to win. And they had to main event that fight because somebody got sick and couldn't fight at the last UFC main event. UFC is just, MMA in general is a sport that is interchanging out so many different names, so many different times. And a lot of times when you're a title holder, and if you lose the belt and then you get it back, that's a rarity. You hardly ever get another shot at a title. And if you do and you lose, well, then that's definitely it. You're done. I just feel like the UFC right now is in a bad situation. And part of it is because not only do people just look to the UFC, but a lot of people don't know about other fight avenues that are out there. You got Shamrock FC, you've got Bellator. Almost every state has got some real heavy hitting local stuff. There's a lot of things that go on up in Kansas City. As I mentioned, I'm in Wichita, Kansas, so I know a lot about Kansas City fighting that goes on up there. I think that people are eventually either going to fall by the wayside when it comes to MMA because the UFC is going to lose its recognition, or you're going to see people start to gravitate towards other fight promotions. And maybe that's what's best for the sport. One of the big chief complaints has been that there's nowhere else for these guys to go if they want to go to if they don't want to go to the UFC. Well, they're not going to get the kind of promotion that they want to be at. In other words, what they're essentially saying is, I don't think Bellator is big enough. I don't think Shamrock FC is big enough. I've competed at the highest level at the UFC. Why would I do that? And I can understand. That's like an NFL player going back to college. What I'm saying is, though, at this point, is I think that the UFC doesn't look very good right now. Your main guy, Conor McGregor, doesn't even know if he wants to come back. He's thinking about boxing. And he got carried Mayweather carried him. Mayweather let him look good. He didn't even do that great. And you're looking at a huge Conor McGregor fan. I wanted him to knock out Mayweather, but let's call an ace and a spade. Mayweather carried that dude for 10 solid rounds to give the fans a show, to let him see more than a few rounds. McGregor wore himself out. That's that. Now he says, allegedly, people are interested in me boxing. I don't know what I'm going to do. After that kind of a payday, after that kind of a moment, do you think that McGregor would want to go back to the UFC and get his head kicked in, get wrestled, get taken down, get kicked in the head, when all he's got to do is worry about defending somebody's punches? Where does the UFC go from here? You know, Dana White said that he would never main event the ladies' bantamweight title again, and his hand was forced the other night with Amanda Nunes because the main event got sick. There was nothing he could do about it. Now what? What was he going to tell him? No, you've got to go in there? You let Amanda Nunes slide by, and she's your champion. And the worst part about it is people still don't see Daniel Cormier as the light heavyweight champion. They say the belt was given to him. Well, it was given to him out of necessity, which, by the way, he did earn it, but still. This last time, it was given to him out of necessity. If Jon Bones Jones did things the right way, we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation in the first place. By the way, how do you feel about Daniel Cormier crying after the fact now? A lot of people don't like him because they think he's stuck up. They think he's judgmental. They don't like how he comes across. They don't dig his personality. They're not a big fan of his fight game. It's primarily wrestling. Dude, I get it. I really do. Jimmy Manoa's gone after him and said that he's a one-trick pony. There's a lot of people that have come after him and said, dude, I'm cool on that. I don't think that you're really that great of an MMA guy. But wrestling is a part of it. I talked to Hoist Gracie one time, and he said, you know, people want to see people stand there and duke it out and bleed out. It's not what we do. What Daniel Cormier does is a part of MMA, whether you like it or not. And you may not like the things that he has to say. You may think he's self-righteous. But at the end of the day, at least you can say, and it looks to be, that he is doing things the right way. In the meantime, what's next for Jon Bones Jones? If he gets suspended for 4 years, I would consider his career done. If he's able to find a way to finagle his way out of this, whatever's going on, maybe there's something there that we don't know about, whether it's another test that's possible, whether it's a retest, who knows what will happen with this. But once he explains himself to the California Athletic Commission, that's pretty much going to be it right there. And if they do, in fact, suspend him for 4 years, he's done. This is the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. You guys are checking me out live from the K-Sun Studios out here in Wichita, Kansas. I am on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at DrewDuncan83. You can get your comments read live over the radio. We're going to take a quick sponsor break. When we come back on the flip side, a lot more to get to. The NBA and NCAA hold a symposium for college athletes. We're going to talk about it right after this. Don't you dare touch that dial.